Hey everybody, welcome to this review on how to translate word problems into equations. We're getting ready to gear up for our end of year testing, and one of the things that's very important is being able to read what the question is asking. And very often it's going to be a kind of a big paragraph with a lot of information, and you're going to have to figure out the math problem or the algebraic problem that you have to create out of the words given. So there's a method to this, so I want to give you some steps. So this video is not going to be a lot of math problems per se, but it is going to be talking about some steps. So if you are following along in class, you will have this paper here to follow along. So this is what the paper looks like right there. If you have it in class, you should have your name and the date on it, and you are going to get credit if you follow the directions exactly as I ask in this video. This should be a simple 100 for you if you are in my class. So you have been given a highlighter. You're going to follow along and highlight what I highlight. So every highlight is worth points. Please make sure you understand those directions. So coming into here, it says translate word problems into equations. Remember, equations are going to have an equal sign, and so when we are here, we need to figure out what is going to be on each side of our equal sign. All right, and to set up the problem. So it says here, most of the time when someone says word problems, there is an automatic panic. Please don't panic. Yes, it can be a challenge, but yes, you can get through it if you just think about it, slow down, take your time, and use the strategies that I'm going to show you right now. Okay? But word problems do not have to be the worst part of math class. By setting up a system and following it, you can be successful with word problems. So I want you to highlight that sentence. By setting up a system and following it, you can be successful with word problems. So what should you do? Here's the recommended steps. Okay. First, you're going to read the problem carefully and figure out what is it that it is asking you to do. So, or to find. All right, so read the problem carefully and find. So all of this whole line should not be highlighted. Only read the problem carefully and find. Okay, so usually, but not always, you can find this information at the end of the problem. So you can highlight at the end of the problem. So what that would look like is you would be given a whole word problem. It'll give you a lot of information set up. Then at the end, you're going to look for the one that has the question mark. The question mark says the question. So what information is in front of that question mark? And we're going to get plenty of practice with this over the next couple days. The next part here is you want to assign a variable to the quantity that you're trying to find. So go ahead and highlight assign a variable. Okay, so most people choose to use the variable x because x is very comfortable. You see it in so many math problems, but a variable can be literally any letter. All right, x is just common. For an example, if you're being asked to find a number, some people will use n. So again, it is your choice. If you're doing the Browns game versus the Tigers game, you might use a B or a T if you're solving for Browns or Tigers, sometimes trying to figure out a score. All right? So moving on here to the third point is write down what that variable represents so you know what it stands for. So there's no sense in having an X or an R or a Q in your problem. You don't even know what does it stand for. So you have to identify what does this variable stand for. So at the time you decide what the variable represents, you may think there's no need to write it down in words. However, by the time you read this problem many more times to figure it out, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to visualize what needs to happen, and you won't just forget what's going on. Okay, next you're going to reread the problem. So once you identify a variable, all right, I'm going to pick x. I'm going to say x equals this. Literally write what it is in words. If x equals the number of donuts eaten, you're going to literally put x equals the number of donuts eaten. Then go back and read again, what more can I decipher from this problem? So this is where most students have the biggest trouble. All right, the only way to master this step is lots of practice. So in this folder, I'm going to try to put this video in a folder as the intro, and we'll just do problem after problem after problem after problem. And then the more you do, the more you begin to recognize problem types and how to form these equations. Okay, but this is the part we're going to be spending a lot of time on. Please put a star or asterisk with your highlighter next to this one right here. Okay? Okay, moving on, solve the equation. So if you've been having trouble with solving equations as of late, go back and see some of the videos how to solve simple 1- and 2-step equations. Okay, that was a quick interruption. So here we are in, check on that side over there. Check over there. Okay, so when you make videos at school, there's just tons of interruptions. Cool. So solve the equation. So if you, like what I was saying was, if you do not know how to solve equations like 2 + x = -16 or -2x - 5 = 40, you know, those are two very simple 1- and 2-step equations. Other equations can become very challenging to solve. This is the basics of algebra. You have to know this. Please do yourself a favor, go back and really know how to balance equations on both sides using inverse operation. You're just always doing the opposite over and over. So please see my tutorials on equations if you're not familiar with those. You'll never get the answers right otherwise. Okay? And then let's come over here. We're almost done with this. And what you're going to do is answer the question in the problem. This may seem simple, but the thing is, you may get an answer, and let's say x is 10, but the problem may ask you to actually have to go back, plug in the x, and solve for something else. So make sure you're solving for what they're asking you to solve for in the end. Sometimes there's going to be another step to find that final answer. We will definitely see a lot of those. And then check your solution. So your answer not only should make sense logically, but it should make sense in the equation. If you get a problem that says the Browns scored 2 times as many points as the Tigers, and the Tigers scored 10 points, well, 2 times the Tigers would be 20 points. If you get an answer like 6,000, well, think about that. 6,000 points is kind of impossible if the Tigers only solved 10 points. So does your answer even make sense? All right. You can read through the rest of the paper here. For an example, if you're asked how fast a person is running and you give an answer of 700 miles per hour. So can a person run 700 miles an hour? I mean, how fast do you drive in a car on a highway? Maybe the highway speed limit is 75 miles an hour. So how would a person be running faster than a car is driving on a highway? Probably something went wrong in the math. So checking your solution is always very, very important. Okay, so we're going to take this information, and so read the problem, assign a variable, write down what the variable stands for, reread and create an equation out of the information. We have a lot of strategies to do that. Solve the equation, answer the question in the problem, and then go back and check your solution. It sounds like a whole lot of steps, but really it's not. It's what you're naturally doing anyway when you're thinking in proper order. But here it gives you a form or a paper to go back and do step by step looking at problems. So if you have this paper in front of you, if you're in class, you want to keep this in front of you for all of this week while we're working on word problems. If you are online, I will post this in the link down below with a bunch of questions underneath it. I'm pretty sure that this document goes on and gives tons and tons of examples to work through and test your knowledge. So that's it for me, and good luck. Again, check out the rest of my YouTube tutorials in middle and high school mathematics. If it's hard for you to understand, chances are I can break it down for you.
Hey,